What's up, everyone? Jason Gilbo here with Rob Mazika, taking a look at some stacking options for tonight's 11-game slate. You and I were talking, not really a good stacking night because, one, we got Kershaw, who's priced up through the roof. I mean, the DK price, you think you're like playing over on Fantasy Draft or something.
Yeah, it's over 14K on DraftKings. 12.9 on FanDuel is even high as well. It's very tough to fit in a good stack with Kershaw tonight. He's a top arm on the board. I'd recommend paying up for him. Stacking, it's going to be tough to find though.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot of stacks that are in play anyway. So, I mean, it's kind of nice. We do have some value ones that we're looking at too.
Yeah, we do. We'll start here the first game with the Yankees-White Sox, though. Yankees has one of the value stacks that we're talking about here.
Yeah, I like the Yankees stacks. I mean, I think you tossed in, Greg Bird 1 through 7 there. I don't mind lefties or righties. You look at this team; they're rolling right now in that ballpark. I mean, Dylan Covey allowed 8 base runners in 5.1 innings. Isn't a guy who missed bats. I mean, in that ballpark, I think he struggles quite a bit.
I think so too. I really like Greg Bird specifically, even as a one-off, but as a Yankee stack at a whole, like you can do a 1 through 3 Gardner, Ellsbury, Holiday, and then a 7 with Greg Bird. He was just hitting the ball really well on Monday night when he played 3 for 3, hit his first home run of the season. He was crushing the ball hard, foul. He just seemed on it.
Yeah, I mean, I like those guys. I like Chase Headley a lot. He's been crushing this season, 486 WOBA, 205 ISO. And they're also stealing bases now at an above average rate again. You look at Headley, Ellsbury, and Garner. They've combined for 12 already on the year.
Yeah, it's an improvement from last year. 1 through 7 as a stack with this team, though.
Yep. And on the Chicago side, no stacking opportunities here.
No, you can't stack against Tanaka, especially with the White Sox, though.
Boston and Toronto, Francisco Liriano versus Rick Porcello. I don't mind a Boston stack because it's not as expensive as years past. You look at Liriano, I mean, he allowed 26 home runs last year, and that's really abnormal for him, just given the fact that he's always had a high ground ball rate. But he's one of those guys who's just really boom or bust.
He is. I don't mind them as a stack. Liriano's pitched actually pretty well at home, and when Russell Martin's the catcher, he does a lot better. But he has shown his blow-up potential, obviously, against the Rays that one game a few starts back. We got guys like Pedroia, Betts, Ramirez, and Bogarts who all hit lefties pretty well.
Yeah. And you look at Boston, I mean, second highest contact percentage in baseball. They don't strike out a ton. They don't. They're a patient offense, so I think that's one of the things that gives them an advantage over guys like Liriano.
For sure. Mookie Betts hasn't struck out since last September, so let's see if we can keep that going.
And you jinxed it. God damn. Come on.
Hey, I'm a Yankee fan. I gotta do what I can.
On the Toronto side, I mean, Rick Porcello hasn't looked good so far this year, but neither has his Toronto offense.
Nah, Toronto's looked really bad. This isn't really a spot where we can stack them.
Baltimore, Cincinnati, one of the better ballparks on tonight's slate. Definitely a lot of opportunities here. Kind of some pricing issues, but definitely a lot of options you can go with.
For sure. Like we've been talking about, though, the pricing issues with Kershaw on the board, you really want to find value. We'll start on the Baltimore side. Pretty much this whole lineup's in play with the exception of Craig Gentry, even though he is the cheapest player in the team. I really like the 6, 7, 8 stack. I know you do as well with Castillo, Scope, and J.J. Hardy. They're all under 3K in FanDuel, and it's a good way to get exposure in this ballpark.
Yep, I'm all for it. I mean, Amir Garrett's like pretty solid start the year, but a lot of these guys have historical numbers that are really good against lefties, and I still think in that ballpark, there's definitely gonna be a couple of guys that get a hold of one.
Yeah, in this ballpark. And on the red side, I like Hamilton, Peraza, Votto, and maybe someone at the bottom with Barnhart. But the thing with Hamilton and Peraza, Ubaldo, he gave up 26 stolen bases in 25 starts last season, one of the worst at holding runners on, and this Reds team is running all over everyone.
Yeah, I mean, Peraza and Hamilton, both huge upside. We're talking about Joey Votto. I mean, love the matchup, but pricing's going to be tough if you are paying up for a pitcher. Adam Duvall, liked him last night, but tough to kind of go back in terms of a GPP because I think the ownership is going to be a lot higher than it was yesterday.
It is tougher. Coming off that big game yesterday, he's going to come in higher owned. And Ubaldo actually wasn't that bad against the righties last season.
No, I definitely want to take a look at for the lefties. And as you mentioned, Tucker Barnhart, good punt option down there.
Yeah, for sure.
Detroit and Tampa Bay, Chris Archer versus Jordan Zimmerman. We'll start with the Rays side here first because we have the most interest there. I mean, if you are looking for a stack, I think the Rays come in as kind of an intriguing one, especially with those lefties. Not a big believer in Jordan Zimmerman. I just don't think he has it anymore.
I don't think so either. He has a slight reverse split. Gave up a 379 WOBA to righties last season, but he also gets knocked around by lefties as well. So I like Dickerson, Kiermaier, basically 1 through 5 in this order for the Rays, and then you could even try to do the wraparound with Tim Beckham at the 9. He's really cheap and he's one of those pump plays.
Yeah, and look at Miami, as you said, reverse splits guy. But I mean, against lefties last year, 33% contact rate. He doesn't miss a lot of bats anymore, which is nice because this Rays team does strike out a ton.
Yeah, they do. But yeah, you can go with that stack. They're pretty cheap and they're a team you can fit with Kershaw.
On the Tigers side, I'm not really prone to stacking against Chris Archer. If there's anyone that can do it, it's probably Miguel Cabrera, but that's only just a one-off.
Yeah, I can't do it against Archer, especially when he's pitching at home as well.
Yep. Phillies and Mets, Robert Selman versus Vince Velasquez. Definitely some potential here on the Mets side with these lefties against them. I mean, Velasquez is a high strikeout guy, but also prone to getting blown up against lefties.
Yeah, he has been, and he actually hasn't looked good at all in his last 10 starts. I can't remember the stat I saw when I was watching the game, but they were talking about the big difference between his first 8 starts and his last 10, and he's just fell off a cliff, especially on the road where he had over a 345 WOBA against batters on both sides of the plate. This Mets lineup, they've been proven to put up a bunch of runs quick, and this could be a game where they could go off.
Yeah, Vince Velasquez, I mean, since last year, 1.81 home runs per 9, 350 WOBA allowed to lefties. Guys like Conforto, if he's in the lineup, is Jubal Cabrera, Jay Bruce, Neil Walker, Lucas Duda. Jose Reyes, you said, was what, 2-1 on FanDuel?
Yeah, 2-1. So you could even fit him in with the stack or as a one-off punt play if you need it.
Yep. As far as the Phillies go, I was talking with you before. I have this weird feeling that the Phillies go off tonight. For some reason, I don't know why I have it. I don't have any logical explanation to back it up, but I kind of like the prices on DK here for guys like Cesar Hernandez, 3-1, Nava 2-9, Odubel Herrera. I mean, it's just one of those ones where I feel like you could fit it in with Kershaw. And I mean, if it goes off, you could be shooting up the leaderboards.
Yeah, see, I'm personally not on it, but the pricing is right, and you could fit it in with these stud pitchers, so I really can't argue against it either.
Yeah, and it's not a knock on Selman. I mean, I think Selman's a talented right-hander. And it's definitely not one to really get a cash game stack exposure to. It's just more of a GPP if you're building multiple lineups.
Yeah, and they're all cheap, like we just said. So it's just one of those teams that you could fit in. Not the best spot, but then again, Selman has blown up before.
Washington, Atlanta, Julio Tanner versus Joe Ross. Definitely some spots to use some lefties in this one. It's kind of almost identical on both sides.
It is. I like the big lefties on both sides of this game. We'll start in the Nationals, Eaton, Harper, Murphy. And then on the Braves, Inciarte, Freeman, and Markakis. But both these guys, they struggle against lefties. Joe Ross a little worse than Tehran against them. But it's just a good spot for all the lefties as a whole.
It is, and outside of really Harper on DraftKings, Eaton's only 3.7, Murphy's only 4.1, so really nice prices for those guys there.
Yeah, FanDuel is tough to fit in Nationals. You won't even have a chance of doing that with Kershaw, but on DraftKings, it's possible if you have a cheap SP2.
Indians and Twins, weather concerns here, likely not going to play. If it somehow clears up, I mean, obviously the Indians would be a stack.
Yeah, we're just going to brush over this game quickly. There's really low chance that it plays, but Indians, they went off last night for 11 runs. Mejia is not the best pitcher. They're trying to make him into a starter, and just another good spot for them, but I don't think it plays.
No. Angels and Astros. Angels, no thanks. I mean, not that I'm a big Dallas Keuchel guy, but I mean, he's just good enough to kind of keep guys at bay. And this Angels lineup just still isn't a stackable team.
No, not at all. Just a couple one-offs in the team, like Mike Trout specifically. But on the Houston side, they are a stackable team.
Yeah, I like the value bats here. I mean, if Correa's out of the lineup again, we saw Beltran hit 4th. I don't mind the cheaper guys like Reddick, Beltran, Bregman, McCann. I think they're all in play for me. Probably won't be paying up for a Springer, Altuve. I just think they're too expensive. I think Springer, the home runs have been there, but he's still not hitting the ball that hard. I don't think he's actually really seen the ball all that well.
He's not, but JC Ramirez, he's just about a league average pitcher. Good ballpark for his entire Houston team. I really like the stack that you were just talking about, the 5 through 8 stack. I will even throw in Gurriel in there as a cheap value. But Beltran, Bregman, McCann, Gurriel is a good cheap way to get a stack in with Kershaw and in a good spot.
Yeah, and you look at Houston, one of the highest implied totals on the night. San Francisco, Kansas City next here. No stacking opportunities for either of these teams.
Nah, not for either of his teams. Royals going against Bumgarner. It's just not a good spot for them. Giants, they just don't have that many big righties in that lineup that could really tag Vargas. And Vargas has actually been somewhat effective this year.
Colorado and Los Angeles, Clayton Kershaw, Tyler Anderson. Colorado, obviously, no thank you. Looking at the Dodgers, it all kind of depends on what that lineup shapes out. And obviously, if you're playing Kershaw on FanDuel, you can only use 3 of them anyway. But I do have some interest, just basically whatever value spits out as far as right-handed bats.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We got Forsythe is questionable. Justin Turner is also questionable with injuries. We got guys like Rob Seguin, who they just called up the other day again, Scott Van Slyke, who are another value, Kike Hernandez down there, and Yasmani Grandal. All cheap values, all hit righty, and Tyler Anderson did struggle against righties last year.
Yeah, and you look at Yasiel Puig too. I mean, hitting fourth, only 3,700 on DK. Yeah, I mean, basically, it just kind of depends what that lineup looks like. But I think overall, if it shapes up how I want it to be, I mean, you can definitely use a Dodgers stack.
Yeah, for sure. I can see them actually leading off with Kike Hernandez and maybe bumping up these guys, Seguin and Van Slyke, to maybe like the 5 and 6 spot, and then it's valuable.
Yep. Arizona, San Diego next. Zach Greinke versus Jhoulys Chacin. DK, I don't mind a Diamondback stack because the pricing of guys like Pollock, Peralta, and Lamb are down. Goldschmidt's expensive, but you might be able to go elsewhere. You look at Petco, I mean, fairly neutral, fairly average for lefty power. And Chacin, obviously, a guy that I like to target.
Yeah, he struggled this year. 13 runs, 11 innings so far. We got David Peralta, Jake Lamb, some lefties. I'd prefer to stack on DraftKings as well. You could fit it in a lot easier than you could on FanDuel. But basically the 1 through 4 on this Diamondback team is where I'm looking.
On the Padres side, I'm not really looking at a stack here. I'm not the biggest believer that Greinke is just all the way back this year, but probably not a ton of potential. I think it's just more one-off territory if you're really looking to get weird.
Yeah, it is one-off territory. He has blown up before, but I just don't feel like this is a spot that he will.
No, I don't think so either. So let's wrap things up here. You can head over to DaveFantasyCafe.com, check out the rest of our great tools and content.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.